Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tales from the Fandom. This is David, just dropping a little bit of information before we start with Analeigh's episode. I am a little bit under the weather as I have gotten a cold from major allergies down here in the southeast. It's a lovely time of spring. I wanted to let you know that we recorded Analeigh's episode back in November, so there are portions where we are talking about Christmas and Moana coming out. And obviously, it's now March, and so there is some information. You might just hear some things, and it might throw you off a little bit, and for that, I apologize. But I hope you enjoyed the episode. It was a lot of fun to record with her, and I hope you enjoy. So take a listen, and I will check in with you guys next week. Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, the podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. Today's guest is Analeigh. Analeigh started to teach herself how to sew when she was assigned to teach a fashions class. She started off by sewing rockabilly dresses, and it slowly evolved into elaborate princess dresses. Originating from Alberta, Canada, she's known to cosplay Disney princesses and has started to branch out into comic book heroes and other pop culture characters. She's a Ravenclaw at heart and dreams of living life in Scotland. Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, Analeigh.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic, besides a huge new bruise on my hand.
Right. You injured yourself like days before you're heading out to go to a convention, right?
Yeah, I'm about to go to Vancouver, to the Vancouver Fan Expo out there. And I'm supposed to be Supergirl, but I'm going to be Supergirl with a half-broken hand.
Oh, no.
Oh, it'll look good in pictures.
I guess so. It'll be interesting. I mean, you could maybe doctor it up and like have it as battle damage or, war wounds.
Do a lot of wrapping and just pretend that I want that extra oomph.
Yeah, there you go. You are a person I found on Instagram through your awesome cosplays. You had so many different ones, and I reached out to you, and here we are. Finally, we've had a few attempts at recording, and I've got you now.
Yes, I'm all yours.
All mine. Awesome. So, what fandoms are you into?
One of my big ones right now is Outlander. I'm a huge Outlander nerd. What most people would also know me for is, of course, my cosplaying in Disney. Disney is becoming a huge part of my life, so much so that people assumed as soon as I got engaged that I was going to get married in Disneyland. But sadly, that's not going to happen. And, of course, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, almost anything that's pop culture I absolutely love.
Okay. And I know that you're a school teacher and you dress up for your class sometimes, right?
I do. One of the big things heading up to Halloween was every day they would try to guess what I was going to dress up as, and they would demand that I dressed up as a certain character. And in the end, they ended up getting Merida because sadly my Sleeping Beauty wasn't done in time. And that was the one that they all wanted me to wear, but maybe next year.
Oh, okay. Maybe next year. And you live in Alberta. Is the town that you live in a little bit smaller?
It is the smallest town I've ever lived in my life. It's so small that when I first moved here, I went to go to get my car fixed. And this person who I'd never talked to before knew the name of my dog.
Wow.
So it's pretty small.
Okay, yeah, because when you think of Alberta, you think of like Calgary or Edmonton. Those are the two ones that stick out in my mind. But yeah, you live in a very small town, but I guess it has some benefits on like one hand. Like everyone maybe knows each other, helpful.
Yeah, they definitely come together. Right now, a small town by us is trying to build a new sports court, and the entire community came up together and in one night raised $24,000 for it. And it's like a tiny town. So when people need help here, when they need stuff, like they get together.
That's great. Now, one of the fandoms that you are into, my wife is also into.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
and she started out reading the books first, but I don't think she passed the first book, and that's Outlander.
Yeah.
I know that she read the first one, but she is a Outlander TV episode watcher. She loves the show.
We would get along so well.
Are you an original like book Outlander fan, or are you more of a TV fan?
I definitely started out with the TV show. I
Hmm.
went to Scotland, and the friend that I stayed with told me about this show, and he told me it was Game of Thrones for women based in
Okay.
Scotland. And I was like, oh, I love Game of Thrones. I'm going to love it. And of course, it's Scotland. So right away, as soon as we got home, I had to buy the season. And since then, I've been hooked. And I went and I bought the books for my trip to California this summer. And I only packed the first book and I finished it halfway through Seattle.
Okay.
So then I had the entire trip. I didn't have a book. So
Womp womp
I
womp.
know, but they're amazing books. I'm on the Voyager right now, which is the third one. I'm almost
Okay.
done.
So, what is it about either the show or the books, both the whole series as a conglomeration? What is it that draws you to Outlander?
Definitely the Scottish side. I'm Scottish by blood, so learning about the history and Bonnie Prince Charlie and all those things is just very appealing to me. And I like
Okay.
learning that history side. I'm a history buff, so I'm loving learning about all the battles and all those fun things.
Does it stay true to like actual history with obviously like the time travel component put in there? Are they actually in certain events that have happened?
Yeah, it's all of it's based on research. It's amazing how many things she has added that are completely historically correct. I mean, some things, of course, are going to be a little off, but
Hmm.
from the most part of what I know, it stays pretty true to facts.
Okay, awesome. And who's your favorite character?
Oh, of course, Jamie Fraser. Can't choose anyone
of
else.
of course. Like if there's anybody else to choose.
Oh, if I had to choose someone else, Fergus. But young Fergus. I'm not a fan of Fergus in the third book. He's made
Okay.
some dicey choices, but I loved him in season two and in the second book.
Okay. And I imagine your favorite like pairing on that show is Jamie and the name is escaping me right now.
Claire.
Claire, that's it.
I love them so much. I'm so obsessed with their love story that we are putting the elements of their wedding into our wedding just because I love it
That's
so
great.
much.
That's awesome. So with Outlander, if somebody like me, because I've never watched the show, nor have I read the books,
You need to.
you have the pitch of it's Game of Thrones for women.
It didn't really
Would
ring too true when I actually started watching it.
okay, what's it more for you? Like, what would you describe it as?
Um, it's a girl who gets thrown back into 18th century Scotland and has to find her way through the culture and all of the differences, and in it finds herself falling for the man that she was destined to be with. And then it's just a catapult of things trying to tear them apart and them trying to stay together. It's heart wrenching.
And does the show accurately, closely follow the books, or with obviously the show can't do as much as the books have in them, I imagine.
They stay very, very true to their source material. I've only found a few differences, mainly in the second book. The second book they've changed a lot from, but they
Okay.
still, at the heart of it, it's still the same.
Okay, that's pretty cool that they're able to keep most of it intact, and keep the portions that obviously if people have read the book, they're going to want to see it on the show too.
Yeah, the amazing part too is how much of the actual text is the same. Like the first show, it actually, I think almost the first whole page of the first book is said in the first episode in
Really?
little overcast voice because it's such like a momental page that people just wanted it, so they kept it.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't really see that happen much. I mean, with the only thing I can equate it to for me as far as books go is like that first Harry Potter movie where it's almost like an exact bridging from the book to the movie with some minor
Yeah,
exceptions.
then it slowly got more and more away from the books. I'm
Right.
hoping Outlander stays pretty true because they are fantastic books. But the second season, like I said, definitely did start drifting off. So I'm a little worried about how much it's going to change. But I have hopes that the directors are close enough with Diana that they're not going to change it too much.
Now, is the book series finished at this point, or are more books coming out? Do you know?
I, oh my goodness, I don't know. I follow her on Facebook and she does have a few books that she's putting out, but they're not quite Outlander books.
Okay.
But I'm far enough behind that I have a lot of ways to go before I have to worry
Right.
about if she's coming up with something new or not.
Right. And I don't think she's taking as long as certain other unnamed authors for putting certain books out.
That's true. They might actually stay ahead of the TV series and like
They
another certain show.
absolutely. In fact, I saw a picture today of that certain show, Game of Thrones, where it was before the first season had even started, and everyone looked so young. And they're like, just think, this show's been on this long, and Winds of Winter still isn't out yet.
Somebody needs to tie him to a chair.
Oh my goodness. It's just amazing.
You think
But
with someone that has that much of a following, they would feel the need to get it out, but I guess you can't rush genius.
yeah, exactly. And I know with Outlander, they have the two seasons and it airs on Stars.
Yes.
And they've already locked down another two seasons as far as contractual, they've signed on to do two more, and third season they haven't announced when it's coming back except that it's coming back next year at some point.
And we're doing it, we're calling it Droughtlander because it's just terrible waiting.
I saw that on when I googled it. I was like, Droughtlander, what is Droughtlander? And I had to look that up.
Sad Outlander fans like me who just want to get back to it.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, Outlander seems to have definitely become something that became popular once the TV show started. I imagine it's because it appeals to like I don't want to say it's more for women more so than men because I haven't seen it, but I think it just started having that popularity. Like I had heard of the Outlander books, but then when the TV show came on, it became like this big thing, almost like Game of Thrones, where you had that subsection of fans who was like, "Oh, I love Game of Thrones," and then the TV show came on, they're like, "I was into Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones was cool," kind of thing.
Good old hipsters.
Absolutely.
It's one of those shows that as soon as you see the first episode that it just gets you hooked. I know my parents just went to Scotland, so when they came back, I put it on as like a background show to
Uh
kind of, have background noise. And my mom and my dad are now actively trying to find the season so that they can watch it.
huh.
So sadly, I'm
Yeah,
not giving them my iPad so they can watch it on it, but maybe if I get it for Christmas, fingers crossed, then they can borrow it.
there you go. That's right. Or that'd be a good Christmas present for them.
Oh, that's true. But now I can't
That
get
way.
it for them because they're going to listen.
Oh,
Ugh.
I guess. Yeah, that could happen.
Now I have to take it back. Darn it.
I guess you'll just have to keep it for yourself.
I guess so.
Well, another fandom that you're into, and we'll get to like one of the big ones, but you are a Harry Potter person, Harry Potter fan, and are you a Ravenclaw like I said in the introduction.
I'm definitely a Ravenclaw. I love my books and I love studying. And I became a teacher because I love school so much. So definitely a Ravenclaw.
Okay. And who's your favorite character in the Harry Potter world?
Luna Lovegood, hands down.
Yes, she's my second favorite, but I'll take it.
Who's the first?
Neville Longbottom,
Oh, yeah, he's my second. I always
which
wanted those two to get together. Always.
yes, me too. Me too. In fact, there was at one point before she had started like writing all the backstory on what happened after. I was always hoping that those two got together.
Same. That was my dream. I was like, oh, they're definitely getting together after this. We'll see a new book and they're going to be together. And then she marries that other guy.
Yeah, she marries the son of the upcoming movie. As we're recording this, Newt Scamander. I think she marries Rolf or
Yeah, his
um,
grandson
yeah, there. I think that's it,
in a
grandson.
terrible, terrible dress choice. I remember reading the description and I was just, oh, what were you thinking, Luna?
Well, it's Luna. So,
That's true.
did you like the way that Luna was portrayed in the movies?
I loved her in the movies. The like I liked her in the books, but it was when I saw her in the movies that she clicked for me so much more. And the actress who played her,
Mm-hmm.
her background story about how she got hired onto the movie just it really hit close to home with me. So I loved the character even more after that.
Yeah, I really loved. I think it goes for both Luna and Neville because we're talking about both of them. I loved Luna, like the minute that she showed up, and I really enjoyed the character in the books. But Ivana Lynch, who's the actress, like was almost perfect for her, like the way that she talked and the way that she almost seemed like ethereal at times, like just almost not belonging, but she's there, and
She had
I
that
just
perfect airy feel to
yes,
her that just and that look, her airy
yes,
dazed look was perfected.
yep. And then with Neville, I enjoyed seeing him transition from first year, the little awkward 11-year-old boy into what he became at the end of the series, where it's like badass Neville with the sword chopping off the snake.
The one that could have been the hero that everyone was talking about.
Absolutely. And it like, you have to think about it once you hit what is it, book 5, Order of the Phoenix, where they discover that prophecy, and it's like it could have been Neville Longbottom and, insert subtitle here for the books. And, it's all about choices, and you see Neville grow up and have to deal with like his parents are alive, but they were tortured so much, and he's living with his grandmother and all sorts of stuff, like what he overcame personally to get to where he was.
You got to have respect for a character that goes through that much and just perseveres and at the end is almost he is one of the big heroes at the end of the Battle of Hogwarts.
Absolutely. Who is your favorite teacher or professor?
Oh my goodness. I I feel like I'm like as a teacher, I'm very much like oh, I'm gonna say her name wrong. Trelawney. I can never.
Trelawney, Professor
Yeah,
Trelawney?
I feel like I'm a lot like her. So I loved her, and of course Professor McGonagall. You can't hate on her.
Right.
And oh, Umbridge. I loved Umbridge. I loved
What?
her sass. She's so sassy, and I love cats. And I'm like my students know that like my cat is my world. So I feel like her and I could have bonded over that.
Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that they liked
She's
Umbridge.
so cool. I would never want to
Oh,
be her as a teacher, but
well, I would hope not.
definitely am proud of the more of Trelawney than her, but she's cool. She's got her parts.
Right. Now, when you were into Harry Potter, were you again, like I like to ask the question, was it books first and then the movies, or movies and then books, or one over the other?
Definitely books. It was when they came out, actually. It was the first book series that I remember my brother reading. And he's my older brother, so of course I really looked up to him. And I
Hmm.
thought, if my brother was reading these book series, then I'm going to read this book series. And him and I, the entire way through, we fought over who got to read the books first. And yeah, it was a huge part of my childhood.
Okay.
I actually
I remember.
am gonna come clean. I stole the books from my parents. They're supposed to be my brother and mine's, so they're supposed to be at my mom's house, and I stole them. They're all at my house. So
Right
sorry,
now,
yeah,
right?
right now. So I have to apologize to my brother because he's not getting them. They're mine.
I remember that I had come home from college one weekend and I was supposed to attend a wedding, but I got really sick. And my mom was like, "Well, here's some books that you can read if you're interested." And I had heard about Harry Potter, but I mean, I was like 18. No, I was probably about 19 or 20 at the time. And I was like, it's that's like for young kids, right? But my mom said that she read them all. They're very good. And I think I read, and it's only the first three out at the time, up to Prisoner of Azkaban. And I think I read them all through the weekend.
They were very addictive.
Yes. I mean, I remember going for like all the rest of the books. I always got them on release day or release night and read them straight through.
Yeah, I remember going to some of the release parties and getting the books. That was always a highlight. And reading
Now,
the last book and like being the first one in my class to read what happened with that death and having to keep it secret because I didn't want to be that person, that was terrible.
right. Yeah, you can't spoil it. I know I told somebody this on a previous podcast where, I'm waiting in line for that last book, and people that are in front of us are getting that book, and they're flipping to the back, and they're like, they're cheering and they're so excited,
They
and I'm
did
like,
not.
well, they see, and they didn't explicitly say anything, but by their reactions, you're like, okay, well, I know that, obviously Harry lived and Voldemort's dead. And I remember going into that last book, and my prediction was that Harry was going to die, that they were going to end it with Harry's going to sacrifice his life to say, get rid of Voldemort.
Exactly. That's exactly what I had predicted too.
And that was what I was going in with. I was like, man, now my prediction is wrong. I wish these people would just take their books and leave.
There is a special place that is reserved for people who read the last page of a book. Just ruins it. I'm a firm believer that you don't read the last book, the last page. It's terrible.
Right.
It's bad karma.
Right. I just read it to get like, or I read it for the page number to know, like, when I'm reading it, it's like, okay, I am halfway through or a quarter way through, but I don't read it to like read that last, see what's going on. Besides, you're not even going to understand what it is at certain points.
Exactly. Maybe there's a character that they haven't even introduced.
That's
Although I
right.
have to admit, going back to Outlander, I did flip through the pages to make sure that Claire and Jamie were going to find each other again. So I did cheat there, but I didn't read the last page. I only had to go like 5 chapters in,
Oh, okay.
but I was one of those people. But still,
Now,
I don't like those people.
right. Now, do you have a favorite either book or movie that is in the Harry Potter universe?
Oh, I love, and I haven't seen it as often as I wish, but I love the Dumbledore's Army one.
Okay, that would be Order of the Phoenix.
Yes. Is there one?
Yes. Or wait,
No.
no, it starts it kind of has the formation in Order of the Phoenix, but it's totally in Half-Blood
Yes,
Prince.
Half-Blood
That's
Prince.
the one.
Yes,
Yes.
that one. I love that one. I just love how they all come together and they form that club.
Yes.
And then poor Dumbledore has to take all the heat for it when it was just the
Yep.
kids doing it.
Well, it's all the Dumbledore's fault anyway, right?
Yeah, if he just would have been truthful from the get-go.
Yeah, I think he could have they could have solved a lot of things if he had been truthful and talked about what was actually going on.
Instead of trying to be riddly and all that good stuff.
Yeah, sneaky Dumbledore. Now, do you have like a character that you feel is underrated in the series?
I don't have a character, but I have a ship. I hate the relationship between Ron and Hermione. I always
Really?
hate it with a passion.
Let it out. Let it out. Tell
I
me why.
always thought that if Hermione should have been with anyone, it probably should have been Harry. And when her and Ron got together, I got so mad because I just did not want them to be together. And now when I got to the end of the books, I was okay with it, but when it first happened, I was like, no. Same as Harry with Ginny. When those two got together, hated it
Hmm.
with a passion. I still don't like it. I think I hate that one more than Hermione and Ron, to be honest. Just because I was the little sister, and I know if I would have dated any of my brother's friends, he would have killed me. So for Ron to be okay with it is not how a real brother would act. Like one of my brother's friends once told him that I was good looking, and my brother stopped talking to that friend. So
Wow.
totally unrealistic. Makes me mad.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I remember, back on the almost the wild west of the internet days, with like AOL fan forums and all these like original websites, there was always a big fight between Hermione should have been with Harry versus the Hermione and Ron. And I for me, I didn't care. I liked I mean, obviously at the point that Luna comes in, I liked Luna and Neville, but I also liked, I was like, well, maybe Luna could
With
go with
Ron or
Harry.
Harry. Oh yeah, that would have been a good couple.
I think she might have been a little bit too weird for Harry at a certain point, but I would have liked to have seen that. I like Cho Chang for a while. I don't like there's a lot of people who have hate for her because she gets in the way of Harry, obviously like Harry and Ginny. But I like Cho. I didn't have a problem with her.
I was good with her. I liked Harry with her more, but I never wanted them to stay together just because of what happened
Hmm.
between Cedric and her. I didn't think that
Right.
was good for Cedric's memory. But it was kind of
Right.
nice because they had that shared experience of losing Cedric because Harry was there when it happened. So, of course, it was traumatic for him. And for Cho, it was her boyfriend. So, it would have been traumatic for her. And I kind of like that coming together over tragedy.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that is always something. I always love talking to people about who they like as far as like character pairings, because I do have people that like, especially with when J.K. Rowling came out and said at a certain point, I don't know if it's like a year or two ago, that Hermione, if she was going to end up with anyone, should have been ending up with Harry.
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting. And I know I've had people tell me that you wrote it and you should just leave it as it is, and then don't really like go back and make those changes.
Yeah, and I hated how the movies played up the romance between Ron and Hermione and tried to make played up the hatred of Ron to Harry because he thought they were getting together. I
Right.
hated the extra attention to that plot.
Yeah, that they did focus on that, especially with the later movies. They really focused on it. And I know it's how it is in the books to some extent, but then to some extent it's like, okay, you're just adding this in to really just like pump
Drama.
up the movie. Yeah, add that drama to it.
And it didn't need to be there. I liked them like the focus on the friendship more than the focus of, oh, Hermione is getting too close to Harry, so I hate her girl Ron character. There was a
Right,
bad plot or character development move on their part.
right. And I have to ask, did you read the drama the screenplay, or not the screenplay, but the play Cursed Child?
I bought it the day it came out and I went dressed as Luna, but I'm so addicted to trying to finish the Outlander series right now that I haven't looked at it yet.
Okay.
But I'm so excited to start it. Like I'm wondering at one point in time I need to switch from Outlander to that book. And
Well, I
it's
know
coming
I know
soon.
it's an easy read because I think I read it in about 3 hours.
Oh, perfect. So it would be a good little as soon as I'm done this third book, like tomorrow, start on that one.
Yeah, it's not because especially because it's written for stage play, there's not the extra like descriptions and stuff. It's just character name, what they say, and if there's a stage direction, character looks up or character looks down or grimaces or whatever.
Oh, that wouldn't take too long then.
No, it's fairly easy reading. It'll be interesting, and I'll be interested to see what your reaction is because there's either people that love it or people that absolutely hate it. And then people have to be reminded that, J.K. Rowling was she is not the writer of that. Other people wrote it, and she kind of was like, okay, yes or no, but wasn't too much more direction other than that, I believe.
So she didn't. She gave it her stamp of approval, is what she did.
Right.
Oh, maybe I'll read it on the plane. I have a short plane ride. I'll need something to read on that.
Well, there you go. Now, you're also into Disney, and you routinely dress up as Disney princesses.
Yes.
Disney's been with you, I imagine, since childhood,
Yeah.
like most children nowadays.
Yeah, of course. Like my mom was really into the comparison between me and Belle when I was younger. So of course she was always put to be my favorite princess. And
Hmm.
I didn't really get too into it though until a couple years ago. And then I don't know what happened. Like I hit 20 and all of a sudden Disney was all I cared about. And it turned into an obsession. I think it actually started with me and my best friend decided that since I was turning 21, I needed to go to Disneyland, and her and I took our first trip together to go to Disney, and I think that's where the obsession started. Was our trip there.
Oh, okay. So it didn't really happen until a little bit later in life for you then.
Yeah, like it was always part of my life, and my parents and I, we would go and we'd watch the movies, and I of course had like Mulan when Mulan came out. I remember having a Mulan themed party, but
Hmm.
yeah, it was never something that I was too obsessed with. I was more into my books than Disney movies.
Okay.
But then of course I got older and all of a sudden it was I'm catching up for 20
For
years of
lost
life.
time.
Yeah.
Well, what's your favorite Disney movie?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think, oh, you know what? I could probably watch The Little Mermaid over and over and over again and never get sick of it.
What's the reason behind that? Is it the music, the characters?
I think it's a combination of like I love her songs and I love her spunk. Like it's her spunk that just it drives me. I love it.
I have to ask, who is your favorite princess? Is it Ariel or is it separate? Like you love Little Mermaid, but your favorite princess is totally different.
It's a mixture. I'm a toss up because Belle is my life from when I was little. Like I was born the same year that Beauty and the Beast came out, and she was a book nerd, and I was a book nerd, and my mom was always telling me that I was her Belle. So since I was little, Belle's always been my favorite.
Hmm.
But as soon as I started going into cosplay and like re-diving into the movies, I just realized how fun and quirky Ariel is, and it's a fight between her and Belle. I don't think I
Okay.
could choose.
You don't think you could choose. That's okay. I'm not making you
Oh,
choose.
good.
It's not like choosing between your favorite kids like
That,
I
of
do
course,
all
is
the time.
very easy, right?
Yes, sometimes it is anyway. Sometimes it is.
Changes daily.
It does. It depends on which one's acting naughty, each day.
I'm sure my
It's
parents would say the same thing of us when I'm
like
however old I am and my brother.
which movie, like, are you looking forward to Moana in like 2 short weeks it is, I believe.
Oh, is it that soon?
It is. I believe it's the 23rd.
I thought it was farther than that. Yeah, I'm. I'm excited to see what they do with her because they haven't really they haven't shown much in the
Right.
trailers, and I'm really excited to see how they pull her off.
Right. Like that was the thing is that I mean, even with my kids, we do watch like Disney or Disney Junior or like occasionally other channels, but I'm not seeing a lot of push right now on TV for getting people ready for Moana, which is a bit strange, but definitely when we went and saw the Trolls movie last week, so there's a Moana trailer there, and I mean there's the big cutouts, and you do see it, but it's almost like I don't know if they've pulled back on marketing or if they're waiting to market it closer to when it comes out.
Mhm. But did
But
they do the same thing with Frozen? Because I remember my friends going to see Frozen, and I said, I hadn't even really seen anything advertising it, and then all of a sudden just blew up. So I'm
right.
wondering if they're doing the same thing where, they're trying to keep it under and
Hmm.
not build it up. So when people see it, it's the same reaction as Frozen of it just goes huge and blows up.
Right. I think and this is just speaking from my experience and talking to a few other people is that they had like Princess and the Frog, they really went after and did a lot of advertising for that. And I don't think it was as well received as they're hoping for. And then the same thing with Tangled, where they did the advertising, but again, it wasn't one of those movies that just really took off at the time. They pulled back for Frozen, and then Frozen became what it is now, which is like all encompassing everything.
Oh, yes.
But I really am hopeful for Moana because it looks so good.
Oh, and I'm loving that so far it doesn't look like she gets a love interest, and it just looks
Yes.
like it's her on this huge adventure across the oceans. And I love the idea of The Rock's character too.
Yes, I'm
Oh,
I am looking forward to him being Maui the demigod who pulls islands up with his fish hook.
yeah, he looks like such an amazing character. Just like he's so playful, but at the same time, he's this big god and is all rough and burly. But oh, I feel like he's gonna steal the show.
Yes, I am looking forward to it. In fact, I know my kids were. I was like, "Do you guys want to go see that?" Because I want to go see that. That's like a kid movie that I want to go see.
Yeah, I think I might have to steal some children to go watch it with.
I know, I know when my wife and I go see animated movies sometimes, at least before the kids, we would wait a few weeks until the kids, like, the kids are not going to see it anymore. They've gone to see it, and now it's just like adults getting their adult time getting to see the Disney movies.
And not having to have kids who are yelling and screaming and all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We only have one theater in my little town, and it's not even in my town. I have to drive half an hour to go to it. So the fear is that I don't know when it comes out, and when they show things, they only show it
Oh,
for 1 week. So I'll have 1 week when it comes out to go see it.
oh my goodness.
And it's
That's a limited time window right there.
very limited, so I can't even wait till the kids get to go see it because I have to go as soon as it comes out or miss it and have to
Oh
drive an
my.
hour and a half to go watch it.
What's your closest big city to you?
Um, the closest one would be I'm a halfway point between Calgary and Medicine Hat, and they're
Okay.
both about an hour and a half away.
Woo.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of
That's
nowhere.
that's a long drive.
Yeah, so when you want to go to something like IKEA or a movie, it's quite a trek.
And I imagine you have to plan out your day and be like, okay, well, this weekend I'm setting aside, we're going to go see a movie and we've got to go now.
Yeah, and it's often I'm lucky because I have really good friends in Calgary that when we do go to Calgary, they let us stay so that we can just make it a weekend thing.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, because it is such a drive that you don't want to go down there for like just a movie or just to go get your iPhone fixed because I'm a klutz. You need to make it, a day.
That is, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know here in Florida, once you get past like the big cities like Orlando or Tampa, you're driving through stretches of a good hour or hour and a half where it's just driving, or you're driving through these really small little towns like with one traffic light,
Yeah.
and it's so boring.
Here it's farms. You just drive through farms for an hour and a half.
And I would hope you guys don't get cut off like during the winters, like snow and ice. The roads are still drivable. Yes,
Uh, it's
sometimes.
sometimes it's Alberta drivers. We're not known for being very good drivers, so it gets iffy.
One of the things that you're into, which is obvious, again, I found you on Instagram, and you are a cosplayer.
Yeah.
How did you get into being a cosplayer? Like, what was your first experience or desire to start up with that?
I remember going to my first convention and I saw, like, I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I went to my first convention. And when I went there, all of a sudden I saw all these people dressing up. And I saw, how people adored them. And to me, they were these amazing figures who did these elaborate costumes. And I knew right then and there that the next year I was going to be one of them and I was going to do it. And my first costume, like, I don't have pictures of it. It was an old grad dress that I put on and I threw some leaves and I called it Ivy. And, it was a good starting point. And since I've
Yep, and
branched,
everyone has one.
I'm still proud of it. I wish I could still fit that grad dress because I would do it. But sadly, I became a teacher and put on a little bit, so I can't fit it anymore. But if I could, I would redo that cosplay in a heartbeat.
That would be fun.
I would love to redo her. I need to redo Ivy at some point in time.
So after your first taste of it, that was it. Like you're like, I'm all in.
Yeah, and then of course after that I got my first, I guess, job as a fashions teacher. So I started sewing and I realized, oh, I can sew my dream dress. Well, why don't I just sew this costume from Enchanted because it's so beautiful? So I
Yes.
spent 6 months on that dress trying to get it perfect. And I had so much fun crying and swearing over that dress that I had to do it again.
Oh my goodness. I imagine you did complete it, right?
I did. Lots of tears. I actually just sold that dress this summer to pay for other dresses, and I'm missing it already. Like, there's lots of good memories of putting it on and seeing that the sleeves weren't how I wanted them, and then crying and telling my friends that I was never gonna sew ever again. And then like 2 minutes later I had it and I was stitch ripping and trying it again.
That is hilarious. So now, how many costumes do you do? I know like some people do new costumes every convention, or some people have like a good three or four that they rotate through and maybe add one in like every year.
I went overboard. I made like 2 to 3 new cosplays per convention. But
Okay.
like here we don't have a lot of conventions. So when I say that, I'm saying I did 6 cosplays per year.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't been doing it long, but because I got obsessed and all I would do was sew constantly, I racked up quite a few within a year.
What are your favorites that you have?
Oh, my absolute favorite. I'm really proud of my bell because it was my first one I did, and um, that one always, whenever I show pictures of it, like it gets a really good response, and I'm really proud of that one. And of course, my Ariel because I spent countless hours putting embroidery on it and hand placing Swarovski crystals to make it perfect. So that one, a lot of time and energy went into.
Which ones are you working on any new ones now for upcoming conventions?
I'm really excited. Right now, I'm working on a Christmas tree dress. So I literally have cut apart. 15 garlands of the evergreen and have hand sewn it onto a skirt so that I can be a gigantic light up Christmas tree.
That is.
It has to be done. I get to wear it next weekend and it's halfway done. So I'm going to be a stress ball case next week because I hate being so last minute. It drives me crazy, but I couldn't get, I needed more supplies. And of course, it was Halloween, so I couldn't get my supplies, but
Right.
it's going to be a mad dash to finish it for next weekend.
Oh, I'm sure you'll finish it.
I have faith. I have to. I have to finish it. And then
That
when I was waiting to get the materials to finish that one, I started on Sleeping Beauty cosplay.
and what color of is it Sleeping Beauty that has the two color dresses, the pink one and the blue one?
Yeah. I actually have this amazing fabric that changes color from pink to
What?
blue. Yeah, it's amazing. So this is like a cosplay that I've been planning to do for 2 years. And I have some tricks up my sleeve that I'm going to be attempting to do that are top secret, but I'm it's one of the ones that I'm probably most excited to be doing. I've been dreaming of doing this idea for 2 years now, and it's finally coming into fruition.
That's awesome.
I have people that are going to help me that are going to hate me because they've already told me that they're having nightmares about helping me with it, but it's going to end up fine.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it'll end up fine. That's you just got to go in there with the power of positivity.
Exactly. And I'm an optimist, so it's going to work and it's going to be beautiful.
Absolutely. What's your experience like at conventions? Do you generally have like a positive experience when you're cosplaying and positive, but there's some negatives to it?
I've only had good experiences when I'm dressed up in Disney. Disney cosplayers are amazing. They they see you, and even if you don't know each other, there's that instant kinsmanship of,
Mm-hmm.
we both love the same thing. Let's get together. Let's take pictures. Let's exchange phone numbers. And it's just a really positive community. On the other hand, when I did Luna Lovegood, because I wasn't in the normal Harry Potter robes,
Mm-hmm.
whenever I tried to wave or say hello to Harry Potter cosplayers, I was ignored.
What?
Yeah, they I don't think they understood what I was cosplaying as, or
Right.
maybe they just thought it was weird, or maybe they were shy. I don't know, but I I did not have a single Harry Potter cosplayer that I attempted to make contact with actually stop and talk to me, which was really
Well, that's not cool.
heartbreaking.
That's not cool. Harry Potter people are supposed to be like awesome.
Exactly. Like the Harry Potter fandom is so amazing that I don't understand what it is about the Harry Potter cosplay community. And I don't know, maybe I'll bring Luna out again and I'll have a different experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm willing to give it a second shot and I don't want to write them off yet. So they'll get a second chance at some point in time.
Yeah, definitely. Just maybe is just that time. Hopefully.
Yes, I'm very optimistic because like I said, the Harry Potter fandom community, I'm part of it. We're very overwhelming and positive. So
That's
it was
right.
a blip, we would call it in my school. They had a blip and they're gonna
Yes,
fix
there's definitely a blip.
it.
For people who are listening to this podcast, which hopefully there's a lot of them. Hi, everyone listening.
Hello.
Uh, where can they find you if they would like to maybe look at your cosplays or just follow along with what you're doing?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram and Tumblr, although I don't use my Tumblr very often, and it's all under Analeigh Cosplay.
Okay, and for those of you who are like wanting a link, you can find the link on the Facebook page or on the show notes of this podcast. Now, did we miss anything at all that you would like to talk about? Because this is your opportunity. If there's something that you want to recommend to people, or if there's something that you want to get out there, we can definitely talk about it.
Let's throw some love to the female Ghostbusters.
Okay, which for those of you who are listening to this podcast, there is a Ghostbusters review podcast that I did with people that have been on this podcast before, Jaquel and Chelsea. And obviously, there's spoilers on that podcast. And by the time this one comes out, it'll have been out for a while.
So we're okay for
So
spoilers?
we are okay for
Oh, good.
spoilers. We are go for spoilers. Now, you had an interesting experience with the Ghostbusters movie, the new one.
Mhm.
And what is that?
Well, my fiance is actually a part of the Ghostbusters of BC and the Ghostbusters of Alberta, which is like a fan group that's registered by Ghost Corps. Um, and Ghost Corps, they invited all of the Ghostbusters franchises to come to the premiere. And my fiance and I, as soon as he found out, he came home and he just begged me for us to be able to say yes to it. And of course, I wasn't about to hold him back. So I agreed that we should put our name in, and we got chosen to be one of the, I think it was 150 of us who got to go to LA and see the actual premiere.
And that is amazing.
It was unbelievable. We got to dress up, and we sat right next to the red carpet, though it was a green carpet for the slime.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to yell out and talk to the cast and the crew. And I got to touch hands, and it was amazing. I'm totally, oh, my fiance is going to kill me because I'm trying to think of his name, and I'm a terrible person for forgetting people's names. But I got to touch him. Oh, what is his
Is it
name?
the character Kevin?
No.
Chris Hemsworth?
Oh, he
No.
wasn't there. It
Okay.
broke my heart. I waited for him, but he was too busy filming Thor. Um,
Okay.
oh, I want to say it's Dan, but it's not Dan. Oh, dear Lord. He plays Ray.
Oh, okay. Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd. I knew it was a Dan. Yeah, I got to touch his hand and I got to shake his hand and I got his signature for my fiance. So I got huge points there. And it was just, he was so nice and so sweet. And I was a little bit starstruck.
That's awesome. Now, were you a fan of Ghostbusters before this movie came out?
I was getting there. I like if you ever come into my house, like it is we have a shrine to Ghostbusters. So it's one of those things that over my 4 years of dating my fiance, it's been drilled into my head that I like Ghostbusters. And it's really starting to come true, but it wasn't until we got to go to that premiere and I got to see females in that role that it struck me of how amazing this movie was.
What was your favorite, like, overall, you love the movie, I imagine?
Oh, just anything with Holtzman. She stole my heart. Like it's a little off kiltering how much of a crush I have on her. Like it goes to the obsession of when I see people cosplaying as her, like I instantly love them and I just want to be their best friend. It's it's a terrible, terrible urge to just befriend anyone who is her. It's terrible.
I know there's one person I follow that I've been uh, working on getting on the podcast on Instagram, and she is almost spitting image
Is it
of
Brianna?
yes,
Yes, I'm in love with her. It's so
yes,
embarrassing how much in love with that girl I am.
yeah. She pulls off an amazing Holtzman.
Oh, if you ever get her on your show, you need to tell her how much I am a fan of her.
I will let her know. I'll make a note of it.
Oh, perfect.
So you loved Holtzman.
Mhm.
What was your favorite part of the movie? Like, did you have a favorite like scene or particular like interaction?
It was that final fight scene. And what really got me was, of course, when Holtzman pulls out her two guns and she licks it, and then she goes just kicking butt. Like that part for me was just I was done for as soon as that hit. I was in love.
Right. Yeah, that I think that scene, like that whole ending with there's a few exceptions that I didn't like of that, but overall it was definitely the best portion of the movie, but I also liked Holtzman and Patty's
Hmm.
like relationship as it grew from them just like kind of knowing each other and talking to like this relationship that they actually have by the end of the movie.
Where they're almost inseparable by the end.
Right.
Yeah. I love how Patty just like weaseled her way into like it wasn't like with Winston where they went out seeking him and he was accepted in. Like
Right.
Patty had to prove herself to the group and she did that in the most amazing ways. Like she had that dragon land on her and she somewhat kept her cool.
Yeah.
I think my favorite Patty moment though is when she's going through the backstage and she goes into that room with all the mannequins and she says, "Oh, nope, that's Nightmare's not gonna do that." And then she walks
Yep.
out. I love that. That was my favorite of her.
Yeah, that was really good.
I don't think there was a single person not laughing in the theater when we watched that.
And again, as I think I said it on either talking to you before we started, and definitely said it on the Ghostbuster podcast, the movie did not do poorly like everyone keeps reporting.
It did
Like
really well.
it's got a good Rotten Tomatoes aggregate score. I think it's somewhere like high 70s,
Mhm.
which is not bad for all the reviews that they're getting. It made money, and yet now they're still talking about they're not even sure if they're going to get to do a sequel or not.
I'm really hoping this opens the door for sequels. And like I got to of course watch it on premiere day. So like the celebrities watched it while we went up to the top of the theater and we had a pizza party. And then when they were all gone, that's when all of the Ghostbusters got to go see it. So we are the ones who could have broken that movie before it ever got released to the public. And
Hmm.
every single one of us had nothing but good things to say about the movie. And these are people who, of course, saw the first two movies and were so in love with it that it became their lifestyle. Like the
Right.
people that I saw it with spend thousands of dollars building their own custom proton packs. So they're the type who, if they're not going to like it, like they're going to hate on it. But every single one of them came out of there just saying how amazing it was and how it exceeded their expectations.
Absolutely. And when I watch, because I didn't get to watch it in the theater, I had to wait until it came out on DVD, and my expectations were low, even though my friends who had seen it in the theater, and one of them, Chelsea, saw it, I think she said 5 or 6 times in the theater. I still went in with low expectations, and it completely surpassed everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had minor gripes with pieces of the movie, but as a whole, I enjoyed it.
It was a really they kept the plot going. There's I know what you're talking about. Like they had holes where it was, well, that didn't make sense. And I didn't like one of the things that I know my fiance and I were griping about was the little digs at people who were saying mean things to them, like, oh,
Like
don't
the
read the
YouTube
comments.
comments,
Yeah,
yeah.
don't look at the comments. Like those things I thought didn't need to be recorded to be played over and over again. But other than that, like the whole thing for me was just perfect.
Right. The
Chris
the things that
Hemsworth might have been a little too dumbed down at times, but it was still hilarious.
the things that I didn't like were Bill Murray's character as that critic
Mm-hmm.
character. I didn't like it because it seemed to drag on a lot, and as I said in the Ghostbusters podcast, that the I liked the bits with Dan Aykroyd or with Winston. I can't remember his name right now. He's escaping me. Um,
It happens. Trust me, I
where where
understand.
where they're in there for like the second. They have one line.
And it was
But
really
Bill
good to just have that little tiny. taste.
Right, but Bill Murray was in it, and I didn't connect with his character at all. I didn't really like it. And then I didn't like Slimer, which I like Slimer in the original movies, but I didn't like Slimer this time with him driving the car, and there's like a Slimer girl ghost,
I
and
think it was because of the for me it was the stylization choice. Like all the other ghosts were so realistic looking, and then to throw in that cartoon one was a little off kiltering, like
hmm
stylization wise.
yeah, it was definitely something where it's like, can we get back to like the epic fight scene
Mm,
rather than focusing on like Slimer driving around in the I can't call it the Ecto One, but the car
the car,
essentially.
whatever they're just gonna decide to call it when they name it.
Right,
I
exactly.
think we're
But
referring to it as the ecto in our household.
right, but everything else I really enjoyed. Although again, with Kevin,
He was a little too
there
dumb.
he was a little too dumb. That I wish there were parts of it where it's like, okay, you're really going too far. And then that end scene where like they're tossing him food and they're throwing it about out of his hand, and then like they're throwing it back. That's a bit much on that one too. But
Yeah, I
I,
didn't
I'm
really get that part, I have to admit.
yeah, I'm hoping that if they do get to do a sequel, that maybe he gets less dumb or they tone it down a bit.
He might learn a little bit more.
Right, because like they didn't explore anything on his like backstory. Like, was he living in his car before then? But obviously he has a motorcycle, so where's he living if he's going to move his suitcases in? There's questions that are unanswered, and I want to know more.
I think the one of the things I really liked with the extended director's edition that they put out is you actually got the backstory of how he all of a sudden decided he wanted to be Ghostbuster. Because in the theatrical release, just all of a sudden he was on his motorcycle saying, "Hey guys,
I want to be a
I'm gonna be
Ghostbuster.
Ghostbuster." But the
Yeah.
theatrical, or not the theatrical, the director's version has that backstory of him finally figuring out what the Ghostbusters do and him realizing, oh, you guys saved people. I want to save people. And having that progression of, oh, he can have logical sequence of thought. Like that really
Oh,
added to his character development for me. I loved that piece, and I'm really sad that it didn't get in the theatrical version.
well, I'm hoping it does. Or I mean, I'm hoping I didn't get to see the extended
Oh, I'm
version,
so
so.
sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. It's totally fine because my friend read the novelization and she said that they had a lot of backstory with the other two Yates. I forgetting the characters' names. The two main characters
Mm,
essentially
yeah, Abby.
that they have the backstory on like the ghost that she saw when she was young and how they became friends in school and all that.
Are you talking about the Ghosts Among Us book, which I think is an
Uh,
amazing marketing idea?
No, there's actual like the Ghostbusters novelization, but it goes into the background of those two characters and how they met in school and their relationship at that point.
That might be a really good Christmas idea.
There you go.
Oh, you're helping me out a lot.
I'm here to help.
I know we have for the books, we have the the book that they published in the movie, The Ghosts Among Us. We have
Hmm.
that one. And my fiance was able to find the actual kids book of the Ghostbusters, like the Golden Books book. So we
Right?
have the Golden Books version of it, just sitting
That's cool.
prominently on our shrine, waiting to be read to our future children.
I know that I bought last year my son or my oldest son was like, I want the Percy Jackson books and I want Star Wars books. So I went out and Christmas last year he got all these books and they're still sitting.
No.
And it's like, really? Like, you asked for these books, please? I love these books. Let's read them. But I think he maybe like in a year or so, maybe he'll work his way into them. He's still
You said
still
grade
reading some
three.
younger books.
Grade three as a teacher, like grade, grade 4 or 5 is when you start reading those bigger chapter books. So
Yeah.
hold up. There's hope.
I will cross my fingers for that.
I will be behind you on it. Don't worry.
Well, let me ask you a question before we wrap this up. If they end up getting to do a Ghostbusters sequel,
I want to be part
what
of it.
okay, you want to be part of it. What do you want to see them do? Because I know when I was talking to my friends about it, they said definitely don't do the Zool storyline because obviously we've seen it. Unless, they do some kind of spin on it that's not been seen before.
I would
Is there
love to have something where, if they do the Zool, have it so they kind of tie it in where when the original Ghostbusters beat Zool, Zool was like put through dimensions into their dimension and somehow like show that like it's a different dimension. I think that would be
that would be
amazing.
cool?
So to kind of tie it back to the original of, oh crap, this is why we have Zool because these idiot men in this other dimension threw it at us. Like, thanks guys. I would love to see that.
I know the story that my friends presented was they would love to see Holtzman do something so reckless and dangerous that it's her fault for whatever happens.
Yes. Oh, but that would hurt. That would hurt her so bad, and I don't know if I could see her in pain. Her pain would be my pain. There's a deep
Yeah.
attachment there.
There is.
I could
There
definitely
is.
see that happening, though. I'm hoping whatever it is, they don't like if they don't do that typical, oh, our gang broke up and now we have to get back together. Like that
Right.
would very disappoint me for them to do something like that.
Right. Absolutely. They definitely need to have the gang stay together and, either keep doing like forward momentum on they're doing work but not recognized, or even if people do start to recognize them, like
The fact that they
that
still
has
have to
to be built
prove
in.
themselves.
Right.
Because I feel like this one was a lot of building them up as the Ghostbusters, whereas the original Ghostbusters, it was kind of, oh, we're the Ghostbusters now. We're really well known. So these
Right.
guys kind of their rise to fame in their world of Ghostbusters was very gradual. So I feel like they do have room to grow in a second movie because they didn't jump straight into being famous. They're still proving themselves. They're still finding out the dynamics between them.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Annalie, I think we've covered a lot so far,
I agree.
and I have to just thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to get with me for a podcast episode.
And thank you for having me. This was really fun to be able to sit in. I don't get to nerd out very often with things. When I start talking about my fandoms at school, they listen, but they listen, with hesitation. So it's nice to have an
Right.
audience who actually wants to hear what I have to say
Absolutely.
and
Well,
understands. That's the big thing.
well, let me ask you this. When the third season of Outlander comes back on, I would love to do a follow-up with you if you're good with that.
Oh, yes, we can maybe get your wife and her and I can nerd out over the costumes and how amazing Jamie looks, even though he's going to be like the age of my father in the next season. He's still going to look
Well,
amazing.
there you go. I will make that request to her and see, and maybe she could even guest host it.
Oh, that would be amazing. Of course, you still be there, co-host.
Yes. Okay, co-host. Special co-host.
That would be amazing.
Well, thank you again, Annalie, so much for this, and I don't have much more to say besides thank you.
And thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.